How has your perspective on sleep and mattresses evolved over time?
One of the biggest things, sort of coming into this, I had this sort of impression that if you spend more, you always get more. And while that is sometimes true, it is more often than not untrue, particularly with certain like sort of more traditional legacy brands that are, sort of intentionally trying to like create this more luxury feel and aesthetic and get prices that are, $3, $4, $5, $6,000. Those types of beds tend to be a little disappointing.
Welcome to the Wellness Amazon podcast, where we talk about everything body, mind, and spirit, health, and wellness. No subject is taboo here, and we have fun peeling back all the layers. Let's do this. Welcome, everybody. Here we go. Another episode coming out every Monday. And today we have, again, a little bit of a different subject, but also very, very important for wellness. So obviously this ties into the Wellness podcast. And it's Derek from NapLab.com. Yes, you heard that right. A lab for naps, because Derek is someone who took it on himself to test mattresses. And I know we've had an episode about sleep, and this ties into it because obviously what you sleep on is just as important as all the other sleep hygiene stuff. So I'm excited. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and how in the world does one get to that?
A bit by accident. I don't know who sort of on purpose tries to become a mattress tester and does, but my journey just kind of began with a personal problem. My wife and I got married in 2014. We needed a new bed. Initially, we were sleeping on my old full size innerspring mattress from high school, and so
Oh,
it was old and it was tiny and it was ready to be retired. So we did kind of the whole in store mattress thing. Went in, tried beds, laid on beds, talked to salesmen, and we found beds that we liked, but the price was $4, $5, $6,000. We were a young, sort of newly married couple, not a whole lot of money to speak of. In addition, we're just pretty frugal people, so we just couldn't pull the trigger on sort of what was kind of like the normal sort of nice bed. And so we ended up taking a chance on these online beds that were really just kind of getting started in 2014. So we ordered one. It was a king size for all foam, $600, shipped in a box, really easy. We got it. We tried it. It was okay, not great for us. So we ended up returning it, and the return process was super easy. We tried another online bed. It was better, something we could actually sleep on. And then just kind of as a kind of fun weekend hobby project, I decided to just sort of build a website. I wanted to review each of the beds that we had tested. I did a comparison with those. I had some just sort of notes about some of the things that we had gone through in the in-store experience and like what that was like and what we learned. I just sort of put all my learnings, threw it up on a website just to see what it would do. And it really struck a chord. People really liked what we were doing. The traffic within just a few weeks grew dramatically. My readers were asking us to test more beds, so we kept getting other mattresses, kept trying them out, kept writing about them. Within a few months, the site was doing well enough that I had replaced my sort of full time job income, and I was able to leave that job and start my career as a professional mattress tester.
wow. And I know you said 2014, and you were in a small, what one bedroom apartment, right?
Yep, that's right. Our first apartment, we got married, one bedroom, one bath, I think like 950 square feet maybe.
So how do I envision this? Did you at one point have all these mattresses everywhere?
Your vision is correct. I've got photos somewhere, but yes, we by the time we left that apartment, I had 17 king size mattresses in the apartment. There was a mattress in the hallway. There was a couple mattresses in the little dining room area. The living room, I basically took half the space and made a mattress bookcase where we just lined
Mhm.
them up in the living room. So we had this little tiny, maybe like I don't know, 150 square foot living room. We had like one little love seat and then the sofa sort of squeeze or the TV squeezed in there. So when we finally moved out of that apartment into our first home together, the uh, the mattress guy or the movers thought we were playing a joke on them because their boss sent them with 17 king size mattress bags. They're like, oh, that was a good one. I was like, oh goodness, guys. I guess I better increase that tip because they're not going to be happy when they see the reality of moving 17 beds out of here.
Yeah. So when you say king size, that also means that you and your wife are now using these for a period of time to actually put them to the test, and not just like, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna, get like a twin size or something smaller, unbox it, poke it a little bit, and say, 'Yeah, good to go.'"
Yeah, the first 120 mattresses that I tested, we tested for 1 week just by sleeping on them. So, mattress come in, we would unbox it, open it up, put it on the frame, do our initial sort of set of photographs and initial sort of impressions and analysis, and then literally just sleep on it for a week. And then as we're going through the week, get to the end of that week, we write down how it slept, how it performed, was it hot, was it cool, was the motion low, everything kind of people care about,
Mhm.
and then compile that into a review.
Wow, that is crazy. Yeah, I'm trying to envision this now with what did you say, 17 king size mattresses?
17 kings, yeah.
Wow.
Space was
Oh.
at such a minimum, we would while we would when we were doing our tests, we would sleep on just, one mattress on the frame, but any other time we needed sort of more storage, which was basically all other time, we would just stack mattresses up on the frames. We'd have, 4 high on the frame, just sort of putting mattresses in any available vertical or floor space we possibly could to squeeze in as much as we were able to.
Yeah, reminds me of the, what is that? The Princess on the Pea or something? Yeah.
Yes, Princess and the
Uh,
Pea, yes.
So, is this correct? By now, you have tested over 470 mattresses.
Yes, I think we're up to something like 520 now.
Good golly.
Yeah, it's been a few, but we've been at it for, 11 and a half years now, so
Yeah.
we've got a few years under us.
So, if someone tests over 500 mattresses in their lifetime, what's it I mean, I can imagine you've seen it all, right? How has your perspective on sleep and mattresses and that connection, how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, I think yeah, it's a great question. So, one of the biggest things, sort of coming into this, I had this sort of impression that I think a lot of people do that, if you spend more, you always get more. And while that is sometimes true, it is more often than not untrue. The price just isn't always reflective of the quality of performance that you're getting. So,
Mhm.
particularly with certain like sort of more traditional legacy brands that are sort of intentionally trying to like create this more luxury feel and aesthetic and get prices that are three, four, five, $6,000. Those types of beds tend to be a little disappointing, and they're still good beds, like often above average performers, but their performance is not sort of reflective of the price. So that's been one of the sort of big learnings, I would say. Um, Another sort of interesting thing that we've discovered in our data, it's while there's so much marketing speak in the world of mattresses, people talking about how great the cooling is and the motion transfer and all
Mhm.
these different like features that sound amazing. One of the things that mattress brands really can't hide is the weight of the mattress, and we've seen our data just very clearly correlated. Mattresses that weigh more, on average, perform better, last longer. And that's simply because there's more stuff in the mattress, more higher quality materials in the mattress. Higher density foams simply have more stuff in them. So you may have a foam layer that's 3 inches that has a density of 2 pounds, and then a foam layer that's 3 inches looks the same, but has a density of 5 pounds. That 5 pound foam is going to weigh
Mhm.
a lot more. It's going to last longer. It's going to sag less. Same thing is true of coil units where, higher quality steel pocketed coil units just weigh more. And so I always tell my readers when you're sort of, trying to decide, is this a good bet or not, look at the weight. If it's a queen size under 120 pounds, chances are higher that there's going to be problems with that. Again, this isn't like an absolute rule, but in general, the lighter the weight you see, the more likelihood that the mattress is not going to last long, not going to perform as well. Especially as beds get under kind of like 80 pounds for a queen, like that's real big problem territory.
Yeah. Wow. So, what you have built is really interesting because I have never seen anything like it. I went to your website and you can take a quiz. Not only can I take a quiz, which I have never seen on any other comparison website ever, it tailors to what is important to you. And there was things on there that I didn't even think about, right? And so why are you so different than everybody else when it comes to comparing mattresses?
Good question. I don't know exactly why others don't do what we do, except that it's hard and it's time consuming and it requires sort of a lot of manpower to get it done. But I think, when I set out to, build our initial, sort of mattress review website, I just wanted to make the thing that I wanted. In 2014, when my wife and I were looking for a bed, we went through, the process of going in store, and then we didn't like that, and then we're heading online, and I'm looking for reviews. I'm looking for data. I'm looking for any sort of just like trustworthy, especially quantifiable information about the mattresses that I was interested in. And I was just finding nothing. And so when I was just thinking about like what I wanted to build, I just built the thing that I wanted. And it turns out I think there's a lot of people that are, similar to me. They appreciate the type of reviews that we create and the data and the quantifiable information and the example and the demo shots. And so I think it's just struck a chord with people that, like the sort of, same types of things that I like. And I think that's helped us find a place in the world of mattress testing.
Mhm. How does your scoring system work?
So we have a battery of 10 objective and data driven tests. And those sort of the 10 things that we test on are chosen because those are the things that we've seen people say that is most important to them over the years. People ask about, ask questions about, want to know about. And so that's how we sort of made that selection. For as many as possible, we gather quantifiable and objective data on the test. So, for example, something like cooling, we're not just going in there, laying on the mattress. It's like, nah, that feels cool. Okay, that's a 9 out of 10. Perfect. Moving on. No, we do objective data driven testing, and we have a thermal camera that allows us to take surface level temperatures of the mattress, and then we can see, okay, how are these temperatures declining over time? And then we use that information alongside, what's actually in the mattress, density, design, materials, our experiences, combine all that together to then determine the score. We have a similar approach for all of our testing categories. Motion transfer. I'm sure you've seen sort of, the classic sort of memory foam wine glass, on one side with red
Mhm.
wine and someone's jumping on the other side. Very cool demo. Love that. But we want data. And so for us, we take an accelerometer, put it on one side of the mattress, drop a medicine ball on the other side from a consistent height. And then we measure in hard numbers to see, all right, what's that acceleration doing? Like what's the ranges? What's the duration of time before it returns back to sort of a near zero level of energy? And then we use that and then dump that numerical data directly into our scoring system, which is then just a linear equation that tells us exactly, all right, well, when the acceleration range is X, the score is Y. And so we have mostly linear equations, linear functions for our scores so that we essentially input a data or set of numbers and data, and it tells us that the score should be X based on that data. And then that score tells us, kind of how do we talk about this? How does this thing compare to everything else that we've tested? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it average? And then we kind of combine all of this information to try to really break down the the sort of veneer of the mattress. The I say veneer because, if you go to like a mattress product page, you'll see all kinds of things that just sound amazing. Everything just sounds incredible. The cooling
Mhm.
sounds amazing. The material sound, the design, everything is cool and interesting and looks awesome. But, when we get back just to the sort of objective numbers about a mattress, then it allows us to sort of, we don't have to look at these things with rose colored glasses. We could say, all right, well, they said all this stuff and that sounds great, but here's what the data says for cooling, and here's what the data says for motion, and here's the data says for edge support and sex and pressure relief, and all these things are important. And so we try
Mhm.
to combine all that into a really succinct and easy to understand analysis.
Yeah. If if you are because what you do is a comparison. So obviously when you started, you had a very, very small data pool, and now you have a very big data pool, and the data pool's getting bigger. Do with this more data and more comparison, does it change ratings over time because things just you have more variety to compare to?
Yeah, so we're always sort of looking at our systems and making sure that they still are an accurate reflection of performance. And as soon as they're not, then we make a change. So we started on what we called scoring system 1.0. We're currently on scoring system 1.3, and I've kind of got plans for like what 1.4 is going to look like. So with each sort of, iteration of our scoring system, we've made changes to basically do exactly what you're saying. So we saw that the sample size grew, no longer was providing a really you know good and clear analysis of what the performance looked like, and so we had to make some changes with the way things were weighted or the data points that we were pulling in. So I believe we started our 1.0 and only got about 25 mattresses in, and then we said, okay, we need to reconfigure this pretty dramatically.
Hmm.
And so we made big changes pretty early on. And then I think we got something like another 120, 150 mattresses down the road, and then kind of same thing. We had like enough data. It was just like, all right, this is good, but like we need we need some changes here to make sure that this feels good, that the scores are more intuitive, that everything that sort of things that we are saying are like average have, an average score. And so we had to sort of reset then. So that brought us to 1.2. And then somewhere, I think in like the 300-ish range of mattresses tested, we made another change, our 1.3 scoring system, which wasn't as dramatic, but again, just fine tuning our system. So we're always looking for ways to kind of look at the totality of our data, reassess everything, make sure that the scores, the analysis, the specific words that we're using to describe and talk about mattresses still makes intuitive sense, because we want everything to be as easy to understand as possible. And if a person that isn't a mattress tester can't easily understand this, then we've got a problem. We need to fix that. So we're always looking for ways to improve, and always kind of I'm always kind of planning in the back of my mind, thinking, all right, well, this is might something we could reassess or improve or do better in the future.
Cool. Yeah. And I mean, kudos to you. That's really important to do that because that also, shows your integrity that you're always looking at your own system, making sure that you are fairly comparing and fairly assessing things. I have a total side question.
Hit me.
So I know that when I went on the scoring system and I did the survey, it asked about sex, and I thought, huh? No one has ever I have never seen this anywhere, right? How does a mattress perform? And then I thought, "Oh, wait a second. This is now a technical question. If this scores high, I would think it has something to do with bounce. But then on the other hand, bounce to me would mean that there is movement that you don't want when another person, like, rolls over and you feel that. How does this work? How does that work?"
I think you're thinking exactly on the right track. So yeah, it's bounce is the biggest factor for great sex. When mattresses have more bounce, they're less tiring, less strenuous to have sex on. They're just easier. But higher bounce also creates higher motion. So
Mm,
generally, when we see mattresses with higher motion transfer, they often do better for sex performance because they have higher bounce. And the inverse is true. When we see mattresses with lower motion transfer, they tend to do worse for sex. So this
right.
is, kind of the classic sort of memory foam mattress. Memory foam absorbs
Mhm.
a ton of energy and bounce, making it great for lowering motion transfer, but it can be sort of, one of the worst mattresses to have sex on because, it's kind of like having sex in quicksand. There's just not a whole lot of help that the mattress provides. So you're thinking of exactly sort of, how you would expect.
So it's an either/or situation kinda thing.
Typically, yeah, the mattress we see doing sort of the best sort of find that balance level of bounce, say between 9 and 10 inches. So it's sort of more than average, but not without being too crazy. And depending on the types of foams that they're using on top, the coil unit, the design, the coil quality, they can still deliver that slightly higher than average level of bounce while still keeping motion in check. So there's sort of a sweet spot that we see there with the
Mhm.
with the bounce level, especially when it's combined with sort of a certain material configuration and design that is able to sort of mitigate that energy while still localizing it to a sort of a high region of bounce in one area.
Yeah, because balance would come from coils, right?
Typically, yes. I mean, all mattresses or all materials are going to create some level of resiliency and bounce, but coils definitely create the most bounce. The more sort of foam you see in a mattress, typically the lower level of bounce you're also going to find.
Mhm. Now when you test, obviously, this is mostly a wellness podcast, right? Yes, we're gonna talk about sleep and we're gonna talk about but I know that a lot of listeners are very into the wellness, they're in the health field, they like to, eat a certain way and sleep a certain way and do all of these things. My biggest issue with mattresses was when I learned about it, how much crap is in these mattresses and how you unbox a mattress and you're like, "Man, wow, that smell, ew," you know? But then I did your test and I got some results, and I was shocked to see that some of these mattresses that claim that they are less toxic had a very, I don't wanna say very, but they didn't have the best scoring in, I don't remember what you called it, like
Off
airing
gassing,
out.
probably.
Yes. And I thought, "How in the world can a mattress that is supposed to be non-toxic giving all these fumes when I unpack it," right? So what do you can you tell me what's up with that?
Yeah, so this is a case of, I think people, look at organic natural mattresses and assume, okay, that must be just like sleeping on nature, like it's just a perfect
Oh,
system. And to be fair, I think it is a healthier and better choice than, memory foam, polyurethane foams, and other like synthetic materials. But what a lot of people don't realize is those mattresses do still have an odor. There is still a strong rubber odor from the latex. There still is often a strong odor of wool and cotton. Those materials, while again healthier, still have a strong smell, and that smell can be offensive to some. The smell usually, is going to dissipate in a week or so, but we would do the off gassing test and the smell test because we want to make sure that our readers understand that, hey, this is still going to smell. It may be all natural, it may be organic, but it has an odor, and the odor can be, just sort of aggravating to deal with, for a week or so.
yeah. Okay, so everybody who lives in a hot climate, buy your mattress in the wintertime so you can open all the doors and windows and let that stuff air out.
Absolutely,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Now, when you compare your testing with the mattress industry testing, and I'm not sure how this works, right? I'm not a mattress girl. I don't know if go buy my mattress from XYZ. Do they have their own testing or is it actually a third party testing that they send it through? And why is their testing not as vigorous as yours? Where's the difference?
Sure. So most, mattress brands will do some type of testing on the mattress. They usually do what's called a rollator and or a Cornell test. So those are part of the ASTM's F1566 set of tests. And so those tests are good, and we were doing those tests as well. Those tests are really aimed at testing sort of durability of the mattress. So they have a 100 or 240-pound rolling pin basically, and they roll it, 100,000 times across the mattress, and then they measure the height loss on the mattress and the firmness loss to see, all right, are these foams holding up? Are they performing well? They have a sort of a synthetic butt, sometimes called a plunger, basically on a stick that they just sort of
Hmm.
push up and down, 10,000 times on the edge of a mattress to do the same sort of testing along the edge so that they can measure, all right, well, how does this thing do when people are sitting on this thing? And then same thing, measuring height loss, firmness lost. So those are sort of the primary tests that a mattress brand is going to do. And again, it's really more at like making sure that whenever they say, "Hey, we're going to give you a 10-year warranty," that they can stand behind that because they've done these testing and they know, all right, well, this thing is supposed to last this long based on the materials that we've had, and the tests sort of pass that. Um, that I would say is the sort of end of mattress testing for the vast majority of brands. Most brands are not going to, put their mattress through the type of testing that we do. And the type of testing that we do really doesn't exist sort of anywhere else out in the wild. You'll see some other sort of, YouTube type reviewers like NapLab that will, do similar tests and then, talk about the data in a similar way. But I don't know of anybody that's doing sort of the same type of comprehensive testing that we're doing.
Hmm. How can I envision this? So we went from one bedroom apartment with, I don't know, 17 king size mattresses stacked on the wall to what you have now. So how does a testing week look like? How much are you involved? You have equipment. Do you actually lay on these things? Like, how does this look like?
Yeah, so a testing week for us usually begins on Tuesday. On Monday, we're catching up, we're writing reports, we're writing analysis, sending out emails, and then testing begins on Tuesday. And so we test two mattresses every week.
Uh-huh.
One of my team members will begin sort of the data collection process on Tuesday or Wednesday, and they're going through. They're taking a set of photographs, videos. They're doing all of the measurements, all of the data collection. So they sort of gather everything about the mattress, and then they go through all of that data. We have basically a sort of a processing system where we are taking those photographs, those videos, those measurements. That we're doing some basically analysis in Adobe Premiere or Adobe Photoshop to figure out like the precise level of sinkage or how long was the material recovery speed on this. We're doing like frame by frame analysis in a video, and so they'll go through and then essentially analyze all of that data and then create a basically Google Sheet report for myself. The next step is then I go through and then I am going analyzing and trying to understand exactly what happened in this mattress. So I have kind of my parts of the mattress where I went and did sort of my initial analysis and is sort of looking at the material layers, and now I'm marrying that with the data and what it's telling me about how this mattress, particularly how it compares to everything else we've tested, and the ways that we need to talk about that, and we begin to sort of draft the review at this point. The last step is then just sort of, finalizing the review, the images, the videos, sort of everything that is going to eventually go into that review. That has multiple sort of layers of, fact checking and confirmation and quality assurance from others on my team. And then it gets one more read through from myself before it's pushed live. So that process, while we do sort of steps for each of that process every week, for us to take sort of one mattress from like unboxing all the way to publishing is about a 3 to 4 week process by the time it's sort of fully made its way through our testing, analysis, drafting, writing, editing, and overall production queue.
Wow. That's a lot of work that goes into that.
It's a lot. We're very fortunate and blessed to have really, really great team members here. So we've got 6 of us that are full-time NapLab team members now, mostly my friends and family. Um, so it's really, really cool to be able to work with people I like and love, and yeah, very, very just fortunate to be able to get to do what we do.
Good, good. Good to hear. Do you ever have situations where this is totally personal question, where you have two people that are so different that you say, you cannot sleep on one mattress. There's no way we can find something that's going to work for both of you.
It's rare, but it does happen. And when it does happen, we have some options. One of those options is a split king, which is just two twin XL mattresses side by side. If we go with that option, one person can get the extra soft they want, one person can get the extra firm, even if they're from different brands, and it's all good, right? Another option is a sort of electronically adjustable firmness mattress, something like a Sleep Number, where you can
Mhm.
change the firmness on each side. When people are really different, in the vast majority of cases, the difference is just firmness. One person wants X, the other wants Y, so we got to find out how to marry that. So a split electronically adjustable mattress is a good way to do that. And a lot of times the split is internal, so you still have a nice clean aesthetic. The last option is internal split firmness where it's not adjustable. And so these mattresses are more rare, but there's a handful out there where it's exactly what you would think. It looks just like a regular mattress, but they've got different materials on the left side and different materials on the right side so that we can create, a precise level of firmness that's best for each sleeper. So while it is pretty rare that we can't find a compromising firmness and feel that works for both people. It does happen, particularly if one partner is sort of heavier weighted and one partner is lighter weighted, or one partner wants something super, super firm, the other wants super, super soft. We
Mhm.
try to then, find the best option. That's usually going to be, a split or electronic adjustable or twin XL.
Yeah. Because back in the day, everybody always said, "Oh, firm is really good for your back. You should get that." So I did. I got like the firmest mattress you could possibly buy until my hips felt they were bruised. Because
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
side sleeper, so that didn't work.
Ooh,
And then yeah,
yeah.
my husband and I, there's about 100-pound difference. He has more back issues. For me, it's more the hips, and then it's side sleepers, both side sleepers. But then we also want something that's organic and non-toxic, and it's just wild to get down that rabbit hole to be like, I don't think that exists.
Yeah, it's a real challenge to find, all the things that are important to you. But I think there probably is a mattress out there. But yeah, At some point, I don't know, in the last 20 years, this mythos of like firm equal good started in the
Mhm.
world of mattresses. And I don't want to say, firm mattresses are not great. I think for certain sleepers, they do work well, but I don't think they're ideal for everybody, particularly, side sleepers. Side sleepers need a little bit more softness and sinkage so that we can bring the hips into a neutral spinal alignment with the rest of the body. Otherwise, yeah, you're getting bruised hips, you're getting pressure points, you're getting pains when you wake up in the morning. So, medium firm tends to be sort of the best sort of overall firmness for most sleepers. That's like a 6 out of 10, where 10 is the most firm. It's great for all sleeping positions. It's great for, body types from 100 to 300 pounds. It just works well for most people. So, unless you are absolutely certain you need and want a firm mattress, for most of us, I think the medium firm is the better way to go.
Yeah. We always see this evidence when we go to hotels because, in a hotel, you never know what you're getting. And if it's super soft and squishy, he's always like, "Oh my god, I hated this. I slept like crap." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ah, this was great." And the other way around. So,
It sounds
uh,
like we gotta get you a split king or an adjustable or something.
right. And I mean, so the funny thing is in Germany, we have a very weird word for the separation and the mattress. We c How do you even say that in English? We call that the visitor gap. I was like,
I love the German language so
I
much.
don't know.
There's always a weird word for things that I wouldn't even think
Yeah,
exist. I love that.
and I'm sure this is not anywhere in the dictionary. I'm sure this is not an official actually term. This is
Yeah,
probably total street slang or whatever, but everybody knows it, and
yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, the visitor gap."
The visitor, that's so good.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because you can hide someone in there. I don't know. But I mean, nowadays, I know people that have it. In Germany, it's actually very common to have two separate mattresses and then put a mattress topper on top of it.
Yeah.
So
The topper is a great way to sort of bridge that visitor's gap. I've also seen products, they're often labeled like mattress bridge. And it's not like a full
mm,
topper, it's just sort of like a sort of thin, sort of, kind of piece of foam that sort of sticks down in that visitor's gap so that you can have the twin XL, each get your preferred firmness, but you don't have to have an extra topper. You can then still feel like it's like one total mattress.
yeah. Would you have to If you do that, would you have to have a box spring so it kinda, like, keeps like a frame, it keeps it together so they are not sliding off like a platform bed?
I think in the case of like the bridge, there's like little straps sort of go around the edges, sort of like kind of hold it together.
Yeah.
Even if you don't use a bridge, you could use similar straps. It just kind of depends on the mattress and the particular frame. Some frames, of course, super slidey, right? They're just kind of all over the place. Others are a bit, have more friction, so it's not going to allow that sliding. Some mattresses will have little, grippy kind of feet, little rubberized texture on the bottom that helps them from sliding around. So if your mattress kind of doesn't have those and you have a slippery thing, that yeah, you might want to get. They basically sell just kind of straps that kind of hold them together, so that it just stays a little bit tighter and you don't end up pushing apart.
Yeah. I mean, our queen mattress right now even slides, which,
Yeah.
I mean, my husband plops into bed, so that's probably why.
Yeah, if you've got like the divers coming
Yeah.
in at 11 o'clock at night, it might be a problem.
Everybody watch out, I'm coming. Um, After all of this and years in this field, and you've probably I have seen so much, what is, like, the wildest and most unexpected thing you've ever seen where you're like, "Wow, I did not expect this?"
Oh man, that's a great question. I feel like I gotta have a better answer for this. I'm trying to think of some like fun stories. One of the ones that was like the craziest mattress I've seen is called the Airweave. I tested it maybe like almost 10 years ago at this point. It is a very unusual mattress. It is a Japanese mattress, so it's very, very firm. And it's mostly air, but it's made out of this sort of like resin that they harden into kind of like a honeycomb type shell, lots of air pockets. It's not like a perfect honeycomb design though. It's just very unusual, but it was very cool, but it was so insanely firm. It was like I would have been more comfortable sleeping on the floor. So that one has got to be way up there as sort of just like the wildest, like wow, why did they make this? And like I could see that mattress doing really well in certain markets where and like regions of countries where fur mattresses are like the norm. People really like that. But they tried to bring it to the US and I don't think it did particularly well because US sleepers just, typically need, something that's a little bit softer, medium, kind of medium firm, and extra firm doesn't do particularly well here. So that one always stands out as being especially memorable.
Wow. Yeah, right when you said resin-like, I was like, "I'm out."
Yeah, yeah, there was
Nope.
no foam in it, no coils, nothing that could comfort you.
Yeah,
It was like a hardened resin in a rectangle mattress shape with a sort of, a cotton cover, polyester cotton cover on top of it. So
yeah.
it was very unusual.
Are you ever surprised by when you get these really big names, like you said, mattresses, $8,000 and up, the super luxe, blah, 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 and you test them and you go, "Oh, wow, this is the biggest pile of garbage I've ever seen."
I've had a few. I would say normally, if it's a 3, 4, 5, 6, $10,000 mattress, it usually is somewhere between good and great. Maybe not
Mhm.
worth how much it is, but usually still a good mattress. But occasionally, yes, I've had some that come in, and I'm just sort of astounded that it's like a $3 or $4,000 bed. Really simple stuff, that I think a lot of people would care about, particularly if you're spending that much money on a bed. Like we find that the measurements of the layers are often just wrong. They'll say, "Oh, it contains 3 inches of memory foam and 2 inches of polyfoam." And then we go in there and measure and like, "Well, that's actually 2.2 inches of memory foam, and that's
Mm,
actually just 1.5 inches of polyfoam." So, it may have been that when you started this process, but it's not that now. And I think that is just re really, really bad for consumers and sleepers. That's just something that everybody that gets that is gonna be aggravated that it's not what they thought they were buying. Or if you think you're buying, a 14-inch mattress and it comes in at 12.5 inches, that's annoying. You paid for X, you expect to get that. And so
mhm.
we see that a lot, not just in expensive mattresses, but kind of mattresses at every pricing level. And you'll often see that occasionally with dimensions of the mattress. A queen size mattress is 60 by 80. That's what your sheets are, that's what your frame is, that's what you want. But the vast majority of mattress manufacturers have, a tolerance of about, 1 inch and some more. So that might come in at 59 inches, or be 61 inches instead of 60. And so those sorts of things I think can feel really, really bad for consumers, again, that are expecting to get something. They've paid a lot of money for that thing, and it comes in a bit short, a bit long, or just otherwise like not what they thought they were buying.
Yeah. I mean, that's you're getting scammed, essentially.
Yeah, the mattress brands, of course, wouldn't view it that way, but I think a lot of consumers rightly do.
Mm,
It just comes down to I ordered X because the product page said that, and then I didn't
mhm.
get that. Like
Yeah.
that's a problem, and I think some certain brands in the industry have a lot more to do in this space, a lot bigger areas for improvement. Some are better than others, but I think sort of looking at the industry at kind of a wider level, it's a pretty big problem where the material specs specified on product pages do not match the mattresses that are being delivered.
Yeah. We talked a little bit before about, the whole myth about firmness and price and all of these things. What do you think is the biggest myth when it comes to mattress purchasing and the data about it that you were able to debunk over time?
I think it's got to be just the price, right? The industry, particularly in the US, has spent, the last 30 years trying to convince consumers that you have to spend 3 to $10,000 to get a
Mm,
good quality mattress. And if you spend less than that, you're getting a bad mattress. I think fortunately for the sort of industry at large, in 2014, we started to see the rise of sort of, the online mattress brand. And so now we have hundreds of these brands, some better, some worse, but their presence in the industry at large has put enormous amounts of pricing pressure on these more entrenched players. So we're seeing, I think at large, sort of better mattresses come to at more affordable prices. Now, to be fair, there's still a lot of overpriced and nearly price gouging, I would argue. going on in the industry. So um, the myth is you just don't need to spend that much money to get a high quality mattress. I think for most consumers, if you spend $1,500 to $2,000 USD, you're going to get a high quality mattress that's going to last around 10 years. Depending on exactly what you're looking for, I could justify and argue spending up to around $3,000 for a queen. But after that, we don't see any sort of, substantial improvement in performance or material quality. We have, if you look at sort of our data on the site, we have basically all of our sort of data analyzed sort of, by pricing tiers. And you can see that performance sort of increases up to about $2,000. And then we kind of see it taper off a little bit. And after $3,000, the performance is not going up because the material quality is not going up. So when you're looking at these, three to $10,000 mattresses, sort of, have that kind of in the back of your head that a lot of what you're paying for is sort of, the brand, the name, the image, the marketing speak. It still may be a good mattress, but you typically just don't need to spend that much money to get a high quality mattress.
Mhm. Okay. I mean, going back to like 70s, 80s, 90s, if you wanted a mattress, you had to have a truck or you had to have it delivered, right? Nowadays, everything is rolled up and I don't know, you can get it delivered all the way online, which actually I think is part of why what you do is so important because I can purchase so many mattresses online, but there is so all the mattress stores out there, they all sell the same things. They don't sell these whatever purple Caspers, avocados, all that stuff. You cannot find that in a store. You have to purchase it online. And then it's this whole ooh, this is gambling a little bit because I can't touch it before I buy it. And yes, there is a guarantee. You can lay on it, you can try it, you can test it. But I mean, sending that thing back is going to be a lot of work, you know? So since you have done this, have you seen trends and changes in the mattress industry over time that are like now it's different than it was in 2014?
I think the biggest one is what you just mentioned, sort of, buying mattresses. Where do we buy mattresses? Do we buy them online or do we buy them, sort of in store? And in 2014, something like less than 1% of mattress sales in the US was online. And we fast forward to today, and that figure is somewhere between 40 and 45% of all mattress sales are online, with often beds that people have never tried and never laid on. So it has really been explosive growth. And I think there are a couple of reasons. I think certainly one, the mattresses that you can buy online are typically massively less expensive. So that's got to be, I think, the biggest driver. People just don't want to spend a lot of money. I think the second reason just comes down to like the experience of shopping in store is often less than great. You're usually contending with an aggressive salesman. You know you're being sold.
Mhm.
It's really hard to know like is what this person is telling me the full truth? Is this what I really need? Also, your options are just limited. If you're in store, you're probably looking at maybe 3 brands or so if it's a typical sort of specialty mattress store. And some of those are good, but your options are just very limited. Whereas if you're online, you have hundreds of brands to
Mhm.
consider. To be fair, that kind of cuts both ways. You end up looking at 300 different brand options. It's kind of analysis paralysis. Like, and I know what's actually good, what brands you should really be considering, and which are more your fly by night companies that you could probably disregard. So kind of no matter what way you slice it, it's really tough, I think, to shop and research these products. The industry, unfortunately, has, kind of obfuscated a lot of the data, made it really kind of hard and intentionally confusing so that you kind of fall back to the marketing speak, the brand speak, like, "Oh, it's got, ice, silk, Increda cooling tech. It's the greatest, Ulta Foams, Ultimate Foam Legacy." And it's like, "Oh, cool. That sounds good, I think." But, at the end of the day, it's a polyurethane foam. It's a memory foam. It's a latex foam. It's a lot of the same materials and different layerings, um, on a vast quality spectrum. So it's tough to know. But, yeah, just to sort of circle back, I'm kind of off on my tangent now. The biggest change is simply the way people are shopping for these. The online mattress industry in the U.S. and more broadly globally has exploded in the last 11, 12 years.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when we, purchased the one when we moved to Florida. Just like what you said in the beginning, we moved from Germany to Alaska, and then it was always like hand me downs or the wrong one, and then it was grandma's, and then it was like, oh, yeah, here, your uncle is barely used, you can have it. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, we take it because, that thing costs probably $5,000. And then we buy a new one, got totally scammed in a mattress store. Yes, they are worse than dealerships. I'm telling you right
Yeah.
now. Then we bought a more organic one. It's okay, it's good, but it took me an entire week of research
Mm.
to figure out which of these organic, air quotes, mattresses we're gonna take because it was, yeah, you cannot buy them in the store, you have to buy them online most of the time, and it was very, very difficult. The 10-year thing, is that true?
Replacing mattress every 10 years?
Mhm.
In general, 10 years is roughly how long a quality mattress should last. Some are going to go a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter. But ultimately, these products are made of foams and springs, and those materials naturally break down over time. Again,
Mm.
some faster, some longer, depending on exactly the type of quality and type of material it's using. But as a general rule, 10 years is usually how long a quality mattress should last. The one thing that I always sort of, ask people to consider instead of like looking at exclusively the years you've had it, think about your body. Like, are you waking up in pain? Are you waking up sore? Are you sleeping well? Do you have low energy by the time you get up in the morning? And one thing to always think about is like, how do you sleep at a hotel? How do you sleep at a relative's house? If you're sleeping better at a relative's house at a hotel, it's probably time to change. Either because that mattress is too old, no longer supportive, no longer comforting, or maybe it was just never right to begin with. And so, always a good idea to really consider what's going on in your body, in addition to just kind of how long you've had it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And again, I mean, your website, if I would have had this, when we bought this mattress, it would have taken me, you know, less than 48 hours to make a decision where instead of a week of doing all my own research and combing through, having like 400 tabs open on my browser and all of these things. And what I really loved when I did the quiz was that it said at the end, you're going to get your results once somebody has looked this over. It actually said your name, and then you're going to get the results. And I thought, oh, so this is just not an AI generated machine that is just taking over my answers. No, there's a human that is going to look over my stuff and give me an actual, really cut for me recommendation. So that was huge. So, how is this how this really works?
That's exactly how it works. So we take, answers about your needs, your preferences, your body weight, the things that are important to you, your budget. That goes over to me or a member of my team. We look at all of your results, all of your answers, and then basically compare that to everything that we've ever tested to try to drill down and say, okay, well, we know that she wants organic. All right, well, that's just these mattresses. We know that she wants medium. Okay, that's just these mattresses. We know that she only has $2,000 spent. Okay, that's just these three mattresses. Oh, and she also prioritizes, lower motion transfer and less smell. Okay, boom, we got one mattress. That's the one we recommend.
Hmm. Amazing. Amazing. I mean, imagine all this time and money you save. Oh my God. Um, okay, one last question. It's a little bit weird.
Hit me.
When you meet someone and they ask you, "Hey, Derek, what do you do for work?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm this NapLab guy." Do you ever have to like clear up misconceptions of what people think you do? And that's actually not at all what you do.
uh, excuse me. Definitely. So, I always tell people, "Oh, I'm a professional mattress tester," and their first idea is, "Oh, you just lay on beds all day." I'm like,
Yep.
"Well, not really. I wish that was my job." So yeah, I think people are really, kind of interested and intrigued. It's not sort of a normal job, so people often have, ideas of what it's like to be, a YouTuber or a mattress tester or someone that sort of, runs a review website. And so just sort of if they're interested, I, will tell them kind of whatever they want to know. And so while we test, mattresses and like that's like what we're writing about, so much of our actual work is just communication and writing. We have to we gather the data, we analyze it, and then we have to turn it into something that's useful, that's interesting, that's readable, that's engaging, something that is intuitive, that it's easy to understand, it's easy and fun if you're watching the video. And so, so much of our work is just doing that piece. And I think the other big part is running our mattress quiz. That is a kind of a 2 to 3 person operation, depending on the week, where we're working together to make sure we get those recommendations out within 24 hours. So being able to, analyze all of the, questions coming in and quickly, break those down and get recommendations sent out in a timely fashion is also, a really big challenge, but also a fun one for us.
Yeah. Awesome. Is there anything we haven't covered today that you want to mention about anything? Mattresses, your job, your website?
Here's one last sort of maybe secret is, if you don't already have a waterproof mattress protector, consider getting one. For
Mhm.
for a couple of reasons. I mean, one, the waterproof mattress protector protects your warranty. If you don't use a protector, something happens, something gets on it, they're more likely to void your warranty because you've gotten a spill, a liquid, or whatever on the mattress. Number two, that waterproof mattress protector, beyond just protecting your warranty and protecting the mattress in general, is also going to help that mattress have a longer life. And this simply comes down to the amount of water, liquid, moisture that humans naturally give off. We give off
Mhm.
between half a liter and a liter just every night, and most of that is lost just through breathing. But when you consider the oils on the skin and perspiration, that is going to get down into the mattress. Now, if I have a waterproof mattress protector, perfect. That's where it stops. We wash that protector, every few weeks, no problem. If you don't have that protector layer, that's getting down into the mattress. A lot of times when people look at a mattress and they've been sleeping on it maybe 3 years and it's sagging, it's forming body impression, it has big divots. If you don't have that protector, the amount of oils and liquids getting into your mattress from your skin is degrading that foam at a much faster rate. So
Mhm.
we want that protector just to help make the mattress last longer, prevent sagging, prevent body impressions from forming as quickly and as deeply as they otherwise will if you use that mattress without the protector.
Yeah. Do you recommend mattress protectors on your website?
I don't think we have a thing on the website. Maybe I need to put that up there. Maybe I have it on some page, but Sleep Tight is a really good brand that I like. I
Mhm.
use that on a couple of my mattresses at home. Um, Anything by Bed Gear and Sheiks, they're a little bit more expensive, but if you're a super hot sleeper, I think they are worth it.
Okay.
So those would be, I think, my go-to picks for protectors.
Yeah. Because 'Cause they're not all made equal. I know that for
Yes,
sure. They will
yes.
tell you they're waterproof, they're not.
S Spend at least
Yeah.
100 to $150. I know that sounds like a lot because you can see protectors that are like $30. Those are
Mhm.
like vinyl, they're warm, they're loud, they're annoying, and they often aren't as waterproof as they say they are. So,
Mhm.
spend a decent amount of money and you just gotta view it as it's just one final layer that's going to protect the mattress in the long run. It's gonna instead of a
Yeah.
mattress that's gonna last, 5 to 7 years, it's going to last, more like 9 to 12, just because you don't have all those oils and liquids getting down to the mattress. Over time, that really builds up. It's one of the reasons that we see deeper sagging much sooner on mattresses.
Yeah. And we have had this, so my husband has this thing called a chili pad where it's like a cooling system, but it has
Yeah.
water in it. So we have to have something really good waterproof underneath it. So in case it will ever rupture or have a punctuation in it or whatnot, it wouldn't go everywhere. And but we did have this in the new mattress. I take all the bedding off and I say, "Why is there a stain?" I mean, we have a cat, but she's mostly outside, so she's not going to throw up on the bed. And if she did, I wouldn't know. It's like,
Yeah.
where's this coming from? And then somebody said, "Oh, that's not. It's just sweat. It's just sweat. It's just that's what sweat stains can just look like."
Yeah.
And I was shocked
Yeah.
how fast that ruins your mattress. So yeah, I can second that. Please, good
Yeah, just
mattress
just
protector.
imagine pouring sort of a cup of water on your mattress every night. I mean, that's sort of, what we're looking at here, and, it just doesn't take very many cups of water into a big foam block for that foam to start, not doing so well.
Yeah, and I always have a thing where I'm like, moisture in something where it's trapped and there is
Yeah.
no circulation, mildew, right?
Oh, yeah. Mildew, bacteria, all kinds of bad stuff, mold. And if you live in sort of a warm, humid climate, again, it doesn't take a whole lot of moisture to really start that process. And once it starts, it can just, kind of ruin your mattress, very, very, very quickly.
Ugh, it's yeah. With that, really, thank you for being on the show, and thank you what you do. It's amazing what you and your team are doing, that you do this so not only vigorously, but also with real human beings. It's not just machines, it's not just AI and, "Oh, we run this through this thing." No, 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 no. It's actually people that are looking at it, which, I mean, honestly, people look at things that people sleep on, right? It's
Yeah.
like when you tell me about the testing and all these things, and it's like, great, yeah, but that's not a person sleeping on the mattress. I need something that's just more, it's just like when we have studies on mice. Those are
Yeah.
great, and we need them at the end of the day. A mouse is not a human. We need this somehow tested on humans. So it's great what you do, and I highly recommend if you are on your 10 years or whatever you need, go to naplab.com, do the quiz, and then get so much time saved for getting a good recommendation for the perfect mattress for you.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I always love when I can give people a platform that just, in my eyes, do the right thing, right? In the world of AI and where you can shortcut everywhere. And it's just still there's integrity and there's passion for what you do and you love what you do and it's just it's a service. It really is a service for humanity. And I mean, we sleep half of our lives. So I mean, good golly, you know.
It's worth getting a good bed. Spend a little time, and hopefully NapLab can help you spend a little bit less and get something even better.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for listening today, everybody. Like, subscribe, share, do all the things you need to do. You know how that goes. And I see y'all next week. Bye. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, a review, and share it with somebody you think needs this. Have a fabulous day. See you next time.